Hi, it's your friend Kinsey. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now. So let's chit chat about what our plans for today are, how we're gonna move forward in the spring season, plans for the homestead, and all that good stuff. I have had my iron in many different fryers recently, and my brain has too many tabs open. I feel like it's running a little bit on overdrive. Tonight we have Bible study. We host a young adults Bible study every week, and I still need to get the chili on the stove. At least I know what I'm cooking. I did not know that this morning. I have gluten-free buns that are actually really good. I'm not gluten-free, but one of the sweethearts that comes to Bible study, she is. So I tried this bun recipe last week that her sister made when I was having dinner with them, and it was so delicious. So we're gonna spend some time today cooking buns, putting the chili on the stove, and then, quite honestly, my house is a little bit atrocious. I've been working on a side hustle, which has been taking some of my time and energy, and I'm really excited about it, but my house is an absolute disaster. If you hear clanging, she was playing with a spoon on the ground. See what I'm saying? I just have stuff everywhere. So, if you would like to join me while I try to work on closing some of those many running tabs that are open in my brain, I would love to bring you along this journey and chit chat about what we're going to be doing this spring, what the plans are for the homestead, for the livestock that we're hoping to bring in, for the garden. Full disclaimer, I have no idea what I'm doing, so let's get into it. You'll notice from the previous home tour, we actually have a gigantic new TV that was not there before. I sourced it off of Facebook Marketplace for $200, a steal of a deal. My brother was actually super kind and bought it for me as an early birthday present. My birthday's in June. Every week, though, we have a Bible study, which is what we're getting ready for today. And typically after Bible study, we'll do a movie, or we'll have a separate night that's a movie night. And 20 people watching on our old 32-inch TV just wasn't quite cutting it. So we upgraded, and it's been really nice. It's also really nice because I'm a big podcast person. I like listening to podcasts, but I like doing it through YouTube because I also like to see their faces. It's one of the ways that I body double is by having a podcast going and pretending I'm having conversation with the people that are there. So having it on the big screen has been really nice. I've also been watching horse training videos, which I'll get into a little bit more as I talk about the plans on the farm for this spring and summer. But I am the type of person who, while I'm cleaning, I like to either watch clean with me videos or watch/listen to podcasts. I have a couple of my favorites on rotation. I've been really in a Mel Robbins mood lately. She's just been speaking my language. I've been on a Mel Robbins kick. She's actually the one I heard her open her podcasts. Hi, it's your friend Mel. And I think that's the stinking coolest opening ever. I am totally stealing that. I think I did it in the beginning of this video. I just think it's such a nice way to open up a podcast or a video. Hi, it's your friend Kinsey. So yes, I will be using that. And I did steal it from Mel Robbins because I thought it was fantastic. Earlier this year, I was really in a David Goggins mood, and then I went over to Jocko Willink, and now I'm in a Mel Robbins mood. I have quite a few inspiring individuals on rotation that I like to soak up and listen to. It kind of depends on my mood. I like to switch between podcasts and then clean with me videos because sometimes I really want to be taking in information, and other times I just want background noise. I just kind of want to zone out. So depending on what mood I'm in will depend on what I throw on, and it usually changes each day. But speaking of YouTube videos, I was watching Dawn with the Minimal Mom talk more about minimalism and how clutter disproportionately affects women's cortisol levels. It actually causes us to be stressed when things are chaotic and a mess. Naturally, that's why I'm feeling like a little frantic with all of the tabs in my brain open, because my current environment is just a mess. And that's what we're going to be putting together today. Now, when I think about minimalism, I chatted about it a little bit in the last video, but I have just coined a term. I don't know if someone else has coined it, but I came up with it without hearing it from somebody else, so I'm going to pretend I coined it. I talked a little bit before about how I didn't really like the minimalism aesthetic, but I liked the idea of managing less inventory and being intentional with my things. And I have decided I am not a minimalist. I am not a maximalist. I am a minimal-ish. How great is that? Minimal-ish. Okay. Thank you for indulging me. Homestead plans this year, though. So one of our big goals is we really want to get moved to the upper level of the house. It still needs to be sided in. It needs insulation. There's a lot of work yet up there that needs to be done. The biggest thing on the to-do list is going to be getting the tin on the roof so that we can protect the wood. Luckily, it's starting to look like the weather is getting warmer and it's going to be drying out. So we'll let it dry out in the 70-degree weather for a couple of days and then work on getting the tin on the roof. As far as what we want to do on the homestead this year, I, for the past 2 years, really focused on birds and brooding birds. Because of our living situation this year, although it breaks my heart a little bit, I've decided not to really get birds this year. Typically, around this time, I've got about 40 guineas brooding, 10 to 20 ducks brooding, cluck full of chickens. I usually go ham with birds. And because we're actually in the house this year and I'm needing to manage and keep everything cleaned, I don't want to deal with the dust. So what I've decided is the only thing that I'm going to be brooding this year is geese. I'm going to get 2 geese, 1 male, 1 female. Fun story, when I first got my ducks, 3 of them were supposed to be geese, buff geese, and they sent me buff ducks instead. The hatchery was great and totally refunded me, but I didn't realize it until they were much, much older, because I'm like, these guys aren't getting any bigger. I'm pretty sure they're ducks. Well, sure enough, they were. It ended up working out for the best, though, because I was able to source a place locally to get geese, so I only have to get 2. Usually when you order online, there's a minimum because they need a certain amount of warmth when they ship. Because I'm wanting to keep it pretty small this year, I'm just going to get 1 male, 1 female. I'll throw up a picture of the breed of geese that I'm going to be getting. I talked to one of the local hatcheries and I am on their wait list for May. So hopefully you'll be seeing 2 adorable little goslings join the flocking farm in May. The other animals that we're looking at, I really am a wannabe horse girl. I want to get a horse so bad. I don't know realistically what that timeline looks like, though, if that would even be possible in the next year. I was talking to a friend who might know somebody who would need a home potentially for a trio of a pony and a llama and a sheep, but I haven't heard anything about that in a minute, so I'm just kind of keeping my eyes open, having an idea of how I want to develop the homestead, because I do really want to, at least in the next year or 2, bring in some type of equine. It just needs to be the right fit. Outside of that, I have been really ruminating on what the heck I'm going to do for a garden. I want to put a garden in this year. I didn't focus on it the past 2 years because I was really focused on birds, and last year we were going to, but then we ended up building the house and it was just too much chaos. So this year I want to get a garden in, and I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with it. Scratch that. I'm a novice. I have no idea what I'm doing. We did plant gardens as a kid, but 1, I was young and don't remember the whole process, and 2, I moved like 13 times with my family. So even if we had a garden, everything would be uprooted every time that we needed to move. So I never really got into the habit of how to keep everything seasonally, and that's something I would like to do, but figuring out how I'm going to do that this next year, it feels a little intimidating. I'm excited about it, but I'm also a little apprehensive because there's a lot of work that I need to do for that. I think I've settled on square foot gardening. However, my brain really loves the idea of square foot gardening. It's very organized, and you have a cheat sheet for how much to plant in each square foot. So then figuring out soil, that's going to be the other big thing, because we have lots of topsoil and I want to make sure that there's plenty of drainage. And then on top of that, figuring out where we're going to put anything, and then the timing of things. That's what I'm really struggling with, is when do I plant and how do I plant? Because should you plant root vegetables with tomatoes? I don't know how to lay it out. So there's still quite a bit of deciphering that I need to do, but I am planning on working on a garden this year. I was told in our area not to really worry about putting anything in the ground until June, because it's just not warm enough typically until then. So I have a little bit of time to get my garden beds together and then to get my act together to figure out what the heck I'm going to be doing for the garden. In addition to that, I'm not entirely sure my plan on keeping pests out of the garden, because we don't really have a fence, and I don't know where we totally want to put the garden and how we're going to fence it. And the other big thing to me is like the timing of different things. You're supposed to plant them some earlier, some later, and I don't know. It's a giant jigsaw puzzle that I have yet to put together. So that's what's going on with the garden. On top of that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done just on the land itself, because we did so much land development last year and the year before. We did tons of digging to put in our septic system and water, and the yard is still in piles of dirt everywhere. It really needs some work to get leveled out before I even have a place that I can put my garden beds. So, lot of projects to do this year. Lot of ambitious goals for the homestead. I know one of my projects that I'm going to be working on is that trailer that we used to live in. I want to refinish it. I want to gut it out and remodel it, refinish it, and have that be basically my guest house. So if people want to come and visit, they have a place that they can sleep, because I have 5 very good years of memory in that thing. I really don't want to sell it. I think it's worth more to me than what we would get for it if we were to sell it. So I would like to refinish it, remodel it, clean it, spruce it up, and have that be my guest house. And that'll be another one of our goals this year, but that's something I mostly do myself. I mean, a lot of the projects around here are time dependent on when Otto is home from work, but something like the trailer is a thing that I can tackle myself that I don't necessarily need him home for, or at least the majority of it. Now, I had mentioned a little bit earlier when I was talking about the new television that I was watching a series on horsemanship. And no, I do not currently have a horse, but I'm very passionate about education when it comes to animals. I want to make sure that I know what I'm getting myself into, because most animals are working animals and they need a job. And it is my personal belief, if I'm going to take on the responsibility of having an animal, I want to make sure that they are fulfilled, and that you do that through giving your animal a job and understanding how to talk to them. I come from a behavioral dog training background. That's my company that I ran before I became a mom. For several years, I trained dogs. I was very involved in shelters and in rescues. And coming from that background, I know that dogs speak a completely different language than people do, and most dogs that have issues are underfulfilled. Like, they're lacking jobs, they're lacking structure, they're lacking guidance, and they just need time put into them. And that's a big thing with all animals, in my belief, is you have to actually have the time to work your animal. And that's what I'm really getting into with horses, because I know with dogs, they speak an entirely different language than people do. 90% of how they talk is nonverbal. So you have to get very good at picking up on slight body changes, micro expressions. They're very heavy in body language, the way that things are positioned, if their ears are back, if their shoulders are forward. And I'm assuming it's the same thing with horses. Having not really been around horses much, I want to get better at reading horses' body language, because I want to be able to speak horse. Now, this is really exciting. The whole house is clean. I'm feeling so much better. You can see here that just not having tons of clutter really makes it so I can breathe. And I actually had enough time that before people came over, I had the food on the stove, everything was cleaned, and I was able to get a little bit of training in with Huckleberry, talking about working animals. I have been training him to be able to distinguish his front end from his back end and move them independently. So that's why his front feet are here on top of this bowl, and that's helping his back feet move independently since his front feet are stationary. I made it my rule too, while I'm waiting to bring Equine in, to double up on my dog's training. That way I'm in the habit of training every day, so that by the time that we bring Equine onto the homestead, that can translate outside, and I will already have carved the time in my day out to work with my animals. Huckleberry's been enjoying it. He thinks it's a ball. He has really strong pack drive, just a willingness to please, and he loves learning. He's slightly food motivated, but he's more toy motivated than anything else. So for him, when he's doing this type of training, I just train him with his kibble, because he gets too excited with toys. And then afterwards, we'll go and throw the ball around. But it's been a lot of fun working with him. Coming from the training background that I have, I did a lot of behavioral dog training, and it's been really nice in recent years to shift that with my personal dogs to just doing more fun training. I still do obedience work and mold their behavior, but I'm getting to spend more time doing things like positioning, moving the rear end from the front end, trick training and stuff like that. It's been a lot of fun, and he's been enjoying it too. Thank you again for joining us here at the Flocking Farm. You could have been anywhere, and you chose to spend some time with us today. We really appreciate it. Would you be opposed to hitting that subscribe button and or leaving a comment down below? I'm always looking for content suggestions. So if you have anything that you specifically would like to see from us, be sure to let me know. Just filming myself cleaning helped me be far more productive. And yes, I was watching a mixture of Mel Robbins and Clean With Me videos. Again, thank you for spending time with us here today. We really appreciate you and love bringing you along this journey. Until next time, remember, don't be afraid to live out loud, and we'll catch you on that flippity flop. Like one random hair just sticking out, and it's bothering me. I'm holding a child, so I don't feel like fixing it at the moment.